Hey everyone, today we're going to be taking a look at page 32 in your lesson book. As you can see, page 32 introduces a new note, and that note is called F natural. So we're going to take some time to talk about how to play that note, and then we'll get to play some melodies using F natural. So you can see everyone should have a yellow box at the top of page 32, and that's going to tell you how to play the note F natural. So if we think about how we would normally play the F note that we know, which is F sharp, excuse me, sorry. I'm not allergic to F naturals, so hopefully that's the only sneeze. If you're a violin or a viola, normally you would put your first finger down and then have a space to your second finger for F sharp. Okay, to play F natural, you're going to take your second finger and move it back close to your first finger. So you can see how my first and second fingers are touching. Okay, so here's the F sharp on the sticker of the tape that you have, and then if you move it below the sticker of tape, that's an F natural. Cellos and basses, it's actually a little bit easier because you've been using different fingers to play F sharp, so cello's 3 fingers, bass 4 fingers. All you have to do to play an F natural is put down 2 fingers, and that's it, so 2 fingers on the D string. So let's do this right now. We're going to find that note F sharp. It should sound like this. Okay, and now I'd like you to take your finger, if you're a violin or a viola, and move it back. And cellos and basses, just play with your second finger, and it should sound like this. So we have F sharp, F natural. Try it again, F sharp, F natural. Okay, most students find it's not very hard to play the note F natural. They know either how to just put down 2 fingers or how to move back their second finger right next to their first finger. That part's easy. But they say what's difficult is knowing when to play an F natural. And so page 32 is going to show us some different examples of when to play F natural. Okay? So up until now, and you may or may not have noticed this, but there's something called a key signature that's at the beginning of your music. So if you take a look at number 126, you have your clef, depending on what instrument you play, and then right after that you'll see a sharp sign, and after that you'll see a 4 over a 4, the time signature. That sharp sign, that's in the middle of your clef and your time signature. And let me actually just show you really quick. So like if you're a violin, it would look like this. Okay, or cellos, basses, violas, you'd have a different clef. Then you'd have a sharp sign, and then your 4/4 time signature. I'm talking about this sharp right here, okay? That key signature is telling us that they want us to play all of our Fs as F sharps, okay? But when you look at the very first note of 126, there's a different symbol in front of your F, and that symbol looks like this. Okay, that's called a natural sign, and when you see that, it means you have to play the F natural that we just talked about. This is called an accidental when it's written in front of the note, and an accidental trumps the key signature. So right now, we're going to play all of our Fs as F naturals. Okay? There's also a rule you might notice in the first measure that the first one has a natural sign in front of it and the others don't. But there's a rule that if you make one of the notes natural in a measure, or it could be a different accidental, but if you make it natural, that it's going to stay natural through the measure. So those are all F sharps. Okay, so if you look really closely, you should be able to look through number 126 and say they're all the same note except for one. And hopefully you see in the third measure we have an E, a first finger. So we're going to play 126, and we're really going to make sure that we catch that E. We don't want to be caught off guard when we get there. So put your fingers down for F natural. That's what we're playing. Okay, and here's 126. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's the E. Very good. Okay, moving on to number 127, and before we do that, we have to look at the yellow box on top of that, because the yellow box introduces two very important words that you'll need to know for the rest of your time playing a string instrument. And those notes are half step and whole step. So a half step is the smallest distance that you can have between two notes in Western music, at least, in the music that we play. And the best way to tell that on a string instrument, if you're a violin or a viola, a half step is anytime your fingers are touching. And if you're a cello or a bass, it's anytime you go from one finger to the very next finger. That's a half step. So when you think about how we just played our F natural with our second and first fingers touching, that is a half step. Those two notes are a half step apart. If I played F sharp and moved my second finger away from my first finger, I now have what's called a whole step. A whole step is when you have a space between your fingers. Now here's the interesting part. When I had my F natural and I put my third finger on the third finger tape where it would normally go, or cellos and basses, that would be your fourth finger, or open string actually for bass. But you can see when I play the F natural, I have a half step here and a whole step here. Okay? When I move my F natural to an F sharp, all of a sudden the whole step is here and the half step is here. And it's really important to know where your half step is, because those fingers need to be close to each other. So if we take a look at 127, it does have that key signature, that F sharp. So when we play the first three notes, it's going to be a G, an F sharp, and a G. And they've marked there that those notes are a half step away from each other. So G, F sharp, G. They're right next to each other. It'll sound like this. Okay. Then when you look at the next part of 127, there's an F natural. So I move my second finger back, and they said, okay, now you have a whole step, and it would sound like this. So the point of this exercise is to hear the whole step and the half step and hear the difference between them when you play an F sharp and when you play an F natural. So let's do 127. Set those three fingers down, or four fingers if you're a cello, or open G if you're a bass. Okay, and you have your F sharp ready. So here we go. F sharp. Now get ready for F natural. G, F natural. Good, so if those sounded the same when you played them, it means you didn't move your finger. Make sure you move your finger to change your note, okay? We have two more on this page, and we're going to get to practice playing some F sharps and some F naturals so you can hear the difference. Number 128, again, has this key signature, so it says, unless they say otherwise, they want you to play F sharp. That means in the first measure, we play G, G, F sharp, F sharp. But in the second measure, you can see it goes to F natural. We play two F naturals, and then they put another accidental, another sharp sign, to say to go back to F sharp. By the way, when I say that word accidental, a lot of people think I mean that it's an accident, that they didn't mean to put that. Accidental is the word in music, which means they put something different than what the key signature is asking you to do. If that doesn't make complete sense right now, that's okay. We're going to keep working on that. That's something that we talk about all the time, and eventually I promise it'll make sense to you. Okay? So if we're going to play the first two measures, you would have G, F sharp, F natural, F sharp. Okay? Then if we look at the next two measures, these should be a little bit more straightforward. We have G, F sharp, G, open G. Okay, let's play those first four measures together. 1, 2, here we go. Looking at measures now 5 and 6, we have G, G, F sharp, F natural, E, E. Let's try that. 1, 2, here we go. And the last two measures, we have F natural, F sharp, and G. Let's put that all together. Here's 128 all the way through. 1, 2, here we go. Okay, hopefully this is starting to make sense a little bit. 129, there is something different, and I kind of wish they wouldn't have written it like this, but we'll just talk about it really quickly and then move on from there. So the key signature for 129 actually looks like this. There's a flat in it. That note is called flat. It's called B flat. That means our key signature is telling us that anytime you run into a B, you're going to be playing the note B flat. Now you're probably thinking, I don't know what the note B flat is, and you're right, we have not learned it yet. But the good news is, if you look through 129, there aren't any B's. So you don't need to worry about the note B flat. But what this key signature tells us is that the B's are flat, but the F's are natural. Remember before we had an F sharp in the key signature that told us all of our F's had to be sharp? Now this B flat is saying the B's are flat, but everything else is natural. So we know our F's need to be F naturals. And they've marked that in your book for you, either by putting 2 fingers or putting an arrow, a down arrow to show you that it's a low 2. That's the word that I'll use quite a bit when we talk about F natural. I'll say, hey, it's a low 2. I might not even say F natural. I'll say, play a low 2. So be listening for that. So let's go through, this is only 4 measures, so let's go through measure by measure. So we have D, D, E, E, F natural, F natural. It's going to sound like this. Try that with me, here we go. Next, F, F, G, G, A, A. Let's do it. Ready, and here we go. Good. The next thing, A, G, G, F natural, G. Ready, and here we go. Good, and probably the most challenging one, A, G, F natural, E, D. Okay, let's try it. Ready, and here we go. If that's giving you a hard time, that last measure, you'll notice it's kind of like a backwards D major scale, except there's no F sharp. Actually, this sounds like a backwards D minor scale, something we have not learned yet. But it's a backwards D major scale, but you put your F natural in it. Okay, I'm going to play through all of 129. If you can, join me in playing this. So here we go. 1 and 2, and here we go. So that is F natural. We'll work on this more in our lesson, but I hope you enjoyed learning a new note.